Welcome everyone to a new video lesson, and today we're going to see new trends in the Maccutcheon variation of the French, a game that was played recently in the Bundesliga between Areschenko with the white pieces against Igor Glek, a French specialist. Okay, without further review, let's get to the point. My work here for this website, I've been focusing my attention on the move 92, but before I played 92 I was a big fan of knight c3, and okay, probably the line this is one of the most complicated and exciting lines to play with white. Bishop g5, bishop b4, and then e5, h6. This is known as the Maccutcheon variation, and after bishop, and now this is the trendy move in the last few years, bishop e3. There is a theoretical discussion whether bishop c1, bishop d2, or bishop e3, which one should white play in order to get an advantage. I think bishop d2 is the most classical way, and perhaps overall the best, but the positions are after queen g4, black can play king f8, or he can play g6, and a lot of people don't like giving up the bishop after knight takes on d2. The game becomes too straightforward for black, who always plays knight c6, bishop d7, c4, b5, and starts the attack on the queen side. Therefore, moves like bishop b3 started to appear very often in practice, and to create new problems for black. After knight e4, queen g4, black must defend g7. So g6 is one of the possible ways, and the other one is king f8. I have to say that king f8 is critical in my opinion. Perhaps it's the line where I didn't find any advantage in my time playing knight c3 with white. Then after the move a3, very logical, bishop takes, b takes on c3, c5, bishop d3. This is all theory. Knight takes, d takes on c5, knight c6, and now knight f3, f5. A critical position arises, and yes, probably here white should play queen h3. I mean, queen h5 is possible, and queen h3 as well, with the idea of opening later the king side with g4. All of this is very complicated and difficult to explain. I believe that against queen h5, as it has been played, black's best move is to play bishop d7 in this position, with the idea of bishop e8. I think there aren't many games with bishop d7, but I believe that is black's most important move in this position. Alright, but this is not the subject today. King f8 is a different kind of position, and it's worth investigating for both sides. But g6, a3, bishop takes, b takes on c3, knight takes on c3, and we get a normal position. We are still following the late theory. After bishop d3, now black plays knight c6, c5 in this position is not so good, because after d takes on c5, black doesn't achieve any active play. If queen a5, white has queen b4, and with the two bishops and the better structure, the weakness on dark squares, white's position is much better. So what black usually plays is knight c6, with the idea of bringing the knight to e7, securing the king side, and then c5 followed by d4. That's basically the counter-attack plan for black. Okay, and now the usual move is h4, then after knight e7, h5, g5, and now white plays f3. This is the theory in the line. There are other possible moves. Knight e2 is possible, but f3 was considered to be the best. Then c5, d takes on c5, and the knight returns, this time to c6, attacking the e5 pawn. And this is all very interesting battle here, because white now plays f4 and black plays d4. Bishop d2, queen d5. The queen on d5 is extremely active. Knight f3, bishop d7. Black is ready to castle, but white must castle as well, so the best is just to play kingside castle, as played in many games. And now g takes on f4 is the best move for black. G takes on f4. Then if queen h4, queen takes on c5, queen f6, rook g8, bishop takes on f4, knight d5, queen takes on a6, castle, bishop g5, rook h8, queen g7, rook g8, and queen takes on f7. And a draw was agreed here between Farrukh Amonatov, Grandmaster, and Ian Nepomniachtchi. But I believe that after knight e3, probably black is better. The white king is not safe, and if white must surrender the dark square bishop, then the e5 pawn becomes very weak, and the h pawn is not really going anywhere. The position is so complex that both players decided to call it a draw, but black had the better chances there. So g takes on f4 puts a question mark in the whole system. It looks like white's play is a little bit too loose, in my opinion. Previously, and why the line got so popular, was because after castle, f takes on g5, h takes, rook e1, indeed white has a good position. Then after rook g8, bishop takes g5, bishop e8, he keeps the e5 pawn, queen h3, unpinning the bishop, and then he's ready to go a6, a7. The pawn is very well defended on a7, and with the bishop on f6 he hopes to win material or to promote. Bishop f6 anyway. Knight f4, this is a famous game. Queen a6, rook takes on g2, king h1, knight d3, bishop takes on h8, queen c2, bishop f6, knight e1, knight e1, queen e2, knight takes, and king h2, and there is no way to stop h8 win. This is a famous game from 2005 between Amonatov again against Igor Glek, the same player who are from the main game that we're seeing right now. Okay, and other moves besides g takes on f4 and castle could be knight e4, but it's not so good. After bishop takes, queen takes, and rook e1, queen f5, yes, is why black must trade now. Queen d5 runs into f takes g5 with a good version of the same game for white, because then black cannot even castle. Takes, and now f takes g5, h takes, knight takes, and this is my game against Rice Hidalgo from Calvia, from the Olympiads in 2004. I played this position, and after rook takes on h5 I went e6. I believe white had an initiative here, but I didn't manage to win the game. After king f7, knight g5, king g6, knight h3, rook h4, I played rook b1, knight d8, rook f4, rook g4, and rook b4, and we both agreed to draw in this position. Material is about even. I believe that I was expecting, I don't remember very well, it's been 6 years, I mean almost 7 years from from this game, so maybe I was expecting bishop c6 in this position. Bishop c6 or knight e6, I don't remember very well. Anyway, but in today's game, the game that we're analyzing, White played differently, and in my opinion very interesting. He played knight e2. I knew this move because this is the move that recommends the computer. When I analyzed the games, I saw knight e2, but it didn't make sense to me, since after knight takes on e2 is probably the most natural move. Also possible is knight a4 with the threat of knight b2, trapping the bishop and trading the knight for the bishop. But after rook b1, queen e7 with an eye on a3, White can simply castle, and he will have enough for the pawn. Ideas of rook b3, rook fb1, maybe c4 in the future, or just keep putting pressure on the king's side. The position remains to be played. Further test is needed to assess this position correctly. Okay, but after knight takes on e2, queen takes on e2, I thought that without the knights it would be very difficult to break black's position. There might be no rupture in the future for this position. But as this game shows, it's not so clear how black finished his development. Now bishop d7 is the move played, and you might wonder why bishop d7. Is there any alternative? Yeah, the alternative might be knight e7. However, after queen d2, knight f5, what else? g5 would simply weaken too much the king side on a move like h4, or h5, bishop g5 is quite annoying. So knight f5, bishop takes on f5, g takes on f5, bishop takes on a6. We have an interesting position in which of opposite color bishops, but the dark squares seem to be more important. So I believe White is probably better. His idea might be bishop g5, f3, king f2, h4 in the future. The pawn on f3 looks like a good idea. First he must play bishop g5, of course, but the pawn on f3 seems to give the king some escape on f2 and also control the light squares, so there are no weaknesses on the king's side, and then h4 and advance that pawn. I believe White is better. Not much, but it's easier play, I think. So bishop d7 looks normal, and in my opinion is a good move. Now h4, and black went f5. This is the move already that deserves attention. f5 is probably too compromising and weakening too much the dark squares. Perhaps black should have played queen e7, always with the idea of queenside castle on the next move, on h5 or any move, queenside castle. So I thought White could play queen d2, threatening to take on h6, but then queen f8. And one idea could be that if h5, black should take on h5, rook takes on h5 and castle, and this is the position where I thought that I'd miss a knight to put on f4 or something like that. In this position it's not clear how White breaks through, and you have to be aware of the counterplay that black can generate with f6 at some point. So instead of h5, White should just castle and think about queenside attack. Maybe with rook fb1, a4, a5, since the black queen is not moving, and also the king has to hide on the queen side. Again, this has never been played, and this all deserves a practical test. f5 is the move played by Igor Glek, and then queen d2, And here we arrive into the critical moment in the game. What to play with black? The a6 pawn is under attack. It seems like the only way to play is queen e7. Then after bishop takes on a6, knight takes on d4, bishop g5, queen c5, and now castle. White has a better game. He has compensation, castle or rook b1. Both ways are interesting to play. He has compensation because of the black king stuck in the center and the weakness on the dark squares. That g5 bishop is a monster, and white wants to play rook b1, c3, and develop the rooks to start creating threats. Maybe c4 in the future as well. Try to open the position. Meanwhile, the black king has no secure shelter anywhere, not on the king side, and the queen side is rather difficult to get there because of the bishop on g5. So in the game, black perhaps overestimated his chances of creating of locking the board, perhaps also motivated by what I mentioned before, the absence of knights. White doesn't have any knight, so he played h5, and yes, g6 is very weak, g5 square is very, very weak, and there is holes everywhere. But how to break through? How does white make progress or create dangerous threats? Well, Areschenko shows a terrific way to do it. First, bishop g5. Okay, that move is easy. The bishop improves and forces the queen to go into a worse square, and yet black should have played knight e7 to keep the queen on d8, and then bishop c6, queen d7, and try to run away. Still, after queen f4, bishop c6, bishop f6, rook a7, castle with the idea of rook fb1, white has a pleasant position. Black can hardly do anything. Queen d7 and queenside castle is a plan, but then what after that? He swapped a pawn, but is irrelevant at this point. Still, this is better than the game, but I believe it was difficult to foresee what was going to happen. Black went queen c8, and already his position looks bad, and it's just a matter of thinking how white breaks through. So he goes bishop f6, rook a7, queen f4, and now the last mistake, king f8. He should have played knight e7, but again, after castle, white is better. It's just the same comment as before. Castle with the idea of bringing the rooks to the queen side, and black still has to try bishop c6 and queen d7, only wasting time with the move queen d8, queen c8. So it was not a move that was in his plans, in black's plans. Instead, he was thinking about king f8, king g8, queen f8, and bring everything to the king side, but it's too slow. And how to break through? Areschenko plays a move that I really like. He goes g4, a very nice rupture without any further preparation. I mean, white could have played f3 in order to play g4 later, but no, he goes g4 immediately, opening the g file. Black has no choice but to take on g4, otherwise g takes on f5, g takes and rook g1, or even if e takes, rook g1 still would create a lot of problems for black. So black is forced to take, and now he goes f3, second rupture, giving up this pawn on f3 to open the g file, and there is very little that black can do now. So he took on f3. The move g3 doesn't make any difference, but white should be careful. King e2 is met with knight takes on d4 check, queen takes c5, and then c4. So instead, queenside castle, and after bishop e8, controlling that white doesn't break through with h5, but still white can play h5, opening lines. G takes on h5, rook g1, bishop f7, rook h3, and black has no defense. The threat is rook h takes g3, rook g7, or queen h4 first, then rook g7. There is no defense to white's attack. Simply too strong. So g takes on f3, king f2, black went bishop e8, and here Areschenkov the final rupture, h5, opening the g file. Black has no choice. He must take, and he must take with the pawn. If rook takes, and queen h6 wins on the spot by mate, so he takes, and now rook a to g1. All of the white pieces, except perhaps the bishop on d3, cooperating in the attack. Now white will win on the g file, and he will do it with a very nice shot. After bishop f7, the only move, nothing else. If you try to bring the queen to the king side, it doesn't help the black king. After rook g3, queen f7, queen h4, there is nothing black can do against rook g1, and eventually rook g7. It's a sad position for black. So he plays bishop f7 and rook g7. Great move, not difficult to find, but still very pretty. Only move, rook takes g7, queen h6, and now it's time for the king to start running away to the queen side, trying to escape. Queen takes on g7 and a6. Believe it or not, this is the only move to prolong the softening. There is nothing else. If knight e7, white plays the very strong rook takes on h5, and the rook gets to h8 or to h7 on the next move, winning. So a6, the only move, and now white went c3. Reminds me of those kind of moves. If you remember that game that I analyzed in the Hanging Pawns lecture, when we studied the Fischer-Spassky game, when Fischer had a tremendous position and then he played like waiting move, like making a Zugzwang for black. Well, this is the same case. White has a way to win immediately, but probably Areschenkov missed it, but probably not because he didn't look for it. He was just wondering what would be black's next move, because if he ever moves the queen to d7, he loses with rook takes on h5. The king cannot escape, the knight cannot move because of the knight must defend the square e7. So whenever black runs out of moves, he loses. So he plays c3. Instead, c4 wins on the spot. The idea is kind of different. After d takes on c4, bishop takes, and now the threat is rook takes on h5. That's how white would win. For example, let's just suppose a move like rook b8 to make one. Rook takes on h5, bishop takes, queen g8, king d7, bishop e6, checkmate. So after c4 there is no defense really, and okay, but white went c3, which also wins, and then after b5, rook g1, this idea works very well. Queen h7 followed by rook g8. That's the idea. So now black plays knight d8, defending the bishop on f7, and after queen h7 he tries to escape with king to d7. White can already win a piece with bishop takes d8, but instead he goes for the stronger rook g8, since black cannot take the rook, and he will take the knight for free. After king c6, rook takes on d8, game over. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this game. I certainly did, and also show some light into a line that it was unclear and it still remains unclear, but at least it shows a new way to play with white, and perhaps we will be seeing more of this variation with white in the future games. Okay everyone, this is it for today, and thanks for watching. As usual, whatever you have to say,